This is a story about a supervillain, and it begins with a lonely and miserable man that lives in New Jersey. One night, after failing to sell any fake memberships to an exclusive network of famous musicians over the phone, the man from Brookhattan frantically thumbed through the stained and creased pages of his copy of The Art of the Deal while he listened to his favorite Cher album, ate 6 cheeseburgers, 12 plates of lasagna, a barrel of french fries, 2-foot-long meatball subs, and a bucket of mashed potatoes. "I don't understand. I did everything you said to do," he cried as he angrily tossed the book across his room, knocking over the stack of nearby empty bowls and plates as his arm flapped wildly through the air. A radioactive drop of grease splashed across his five-head as he stood breathlessly looking at the pieces of broken cutlery spread across the floor. And just as he began to call for his children to come and clean the mess up, the grease slowly seeped into his skin, disappearing into the darkness of his pores. This moment, this convergence, would put forces into motion that could never be undone, for the grease would survive. It would adapt to the harsh and unruly conditions of its host, and like a sudden cancer, but not the type you create a GoFundMe page for, it would grow and spread throughout him, infecting him with mysterious and evil powers, and over time, the man from Brookhattan would soon discover and master those powers, and he'd finally become the villain he was always destined to become. Dr. Brookhattan was born. As for his powers, he acquired 3. The first was the ability to bend reality into whatever he wanted it to be, regardless of the truth. During one infamous battle, while fighting the superhero Captain Country pointed out that our villain had acquired his wealth by dipping into his children's inheritance, an inheritance which had been passed down by his father who had died. Dr. Brookhattan shielded himself from Captain Country's truth attack by chanting over and over again, "My dad died, how dare you?" until enough people had grown confused and forgotten what the conversation was even about. For you see, even though Captain Country never voiced an opinion about the villain's father, Dr. Brookhattan's power made it so that everyone with a single-digit IQ would be insulted by Captain Country's accusations. And for weeks, the brainwashed masses collectively cried in agony. How could he say such a thing? Family is off limits. His dad is dead. Never seeming to acknowledge that Captain Country didn't attack the villain's father. He instead shined a light on the source of our villain's wealth, which raised quite a few questions. But these were questions our villain did not want asked or repeated, so he made them all go away. His second power was the ability to be as racist as he wanted without any self-awareness or guilt of his racism, especially toward Asian people. On one particular evening, Dr. Brookhattan was at a casino, gambling all of his money away, and after losing tens of thousands of dollars at the roulette wheel, he noticed that the croupier was an Asian woman. He gritted his teeth with anger at this discovery and silently crumpled up his last $100 bill as he glared at her. "Sir," she called out, but it was already too late. Using his racist powers, Dr. Brookhattan took the balled-up $100 bill and threw it at the Asian woman's face, hitting her square in the forehead as he darted out of the casino, his maniacal laughter echoing into the night. More recently, our villain found himself facing down another superhero, C. Clifford, who, after discovering the mind-controlled crowd that had turned against Captain Country, used his powers to begin freeing them of their mental enslavement and to help Captain Country escape the barrage of red herring attacks from Dr. Brookhattan. But Dr. Brookhattan would not so easily be defeated. After C. Clifford tracked the villain down, Dr. Brookhattan used his power of racism to thwart C. Clifford's plans. And with a callous glare, he sneered down at the hero and told him, "Your wife is Asian." And as C. Clifford stood there stunned and silent, Dr. Brookhattan used the opportunity to escape once more. His third power was the gift of temporarily leveraging guilt, where he could ensnare superheroes with gifts, only to later use those gifts to extort those superheroes and force them to fight by his side or agree with him by leveraging the silent obligation thrust upon them from having once accepted those gifts. During his fights with such heroes as Lady Veronica, Captain Country, One Punch Phil, and the Commander himself, we saw Dr. Brookhattan attempt to bring each of these heroes to his side by leveraging the obligations he believed they owed him. Seemingly charitable acts of kindness, such as money, shoutouts, compliments, subscribers, and even friendly phone calls, would eventually be used against each hero to try and trap them all to his will. But each of them resisted, and with their combined efforts they were able to overcome this power, choosing to instead spread truth. They fought against the willful ignorance and lies that Dr. Brookhattan had expected them to champion in his name. This third power would no longer help him. So now the board is set. and the pieces are all in place. The heroes have put aside their many differences in an effort to join together and defeat the menacing Dr. Brookhattan once and for all. For all evil needs to succeed is that good men do nothing. But some say Dr. Brookhattan is still waiting, and that he's not going to go down without a fight. With one power defeated and two powers remaining, what lies in store for our heroes in these next chapters? Only time will tell.